Tonight's meeting of the Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County Council is coming to you live from the council chambers and is a public affairs presentation of the Metro Nashville Network. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pat Nolan, your announcer for this program. Tonight, the 15th Metropolitan Council holds its 7th business meeting of the new term and the first of calendar year 2020. The business meeting is a little late getting started tonight because the announcement session that the council holds before its business meeting ran a little long. We have an 18-page agenda before us, about 4 pages of public hearings, many concern rezoning and other land use requests. There are 2 pages of resolutions, 6 pages of first reading bills, about a page or so of second reading bills, and 2 pages of bills on third and final reading. One of the public hearings tonight is 2019-48. Proposal would change the rules about businesses operating out of their homes in residential areas. That's always a controversial matter. The matter, however, was not considered or passed one way or the other by the Planning Commission back in December, so it is likely the council will defer it as well tonight and perhaps do so without even holding the public hearing and come back and have the public hearing later after perhaps they've worked out some other potential changes for it. Among the other zoning bills tonight, none of them are disapproved by the Planning Commission. Only one has suggested changes to get the Commission's okay. That could mean a shorter meeting, at least less debate on some of those zoning changes. Planning Commission approval, by the way, limits and impacts the size of the majority needed to gain council approval. 2 other council resolutions up for approval tonight impact the city's state-approved plan to balance this year's city's operating budget, which is over $40 million in the red. Resolution 2020-149 appropriates about $600,000 from the general fund of the General Services District to the Davidson County Sheriff's Department to house up to 100 federal prisoners. It's anticipated the housing of these additional federal prisoners will result in over $1 million in new revenues, which means a gain to the general fund of about $500,000. One potential issue, the council office has been advised that the additional federal prisoners to be hired may include persons detained for violations of federal immigration laws, usually those who've had criminal involvements. That could raise some concerns, however, and some debate tonight. Another resolution impacting the budget is 2020-154. It directs Metro Water Services to make payments in lieu of ad valorem property taxes in an amount of $10 million a year. It's called a pilot program. Water Services, since the mid-1990s, has paid $4 million per year in pilot to Metro. That's been pledged towards the debt on Nissan Stadium. At the time, the $4 million was estimated to be about 30% of the taxes that Water Services would pay if it was privately owned. So going up another $10 million in today's money would still mean it would be under the 100% amount being able to be allocated or assessed in a pilot program, so it'll be within the limits of state law. For the first time this term, the council was set to address the ongoing controversy about scooters, or what the council calls shared mobility, urban mobility devices. The council rejected a ban on such vehicles in the last term, did cut the size of the fleets allowed in half, and asked the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission to conduct an RFP process to select just 3 firms to provide those services. The commission was not able to get that done. They've come back with another bill changing the process slightly and asking for more time to do that. That has been deferred tonight in the Public Works Committee of the council, so it will not be considered here on the floor of the council tonight. On third and final reading, there is Bill 2995. It requires diaper changing stations in buildings with public restrooms. Legislation would not require retrofitting any buildings. However, newly constructed public bathrooms or public bathrooms that are altered so much that they require a building permit would be required to exchange the diaper changing stations in accordance with this requirement. Metro General Services estimates the cost to install a changing station at about $850 per station to build in Metro facilities. The bill passed on second reading back before Christmas, but there were concerns expressed by some council members about the costs and about the possible impact on private businesses. We'll see what arises on third and final reading tonight. This is a 50% female council for the first time. That may have an impact of building support for this idea of putting these diaper changing stations in public restrooms. By the way, if you want to follow tonight's meeting as it progresses, you can find the council agenda online, as well as the council staff announcements with explanations of the legislation. Just go to the Metro Council portion of the Nashville.gov website, then go to the Legislative Information Center. You'll find that information there. We'll also be placing the bill numbers we've talked about on the screen, which come up when they come up for consideration, so you can follow along and keep up with what's going on the meeting agenda. Let's now go to Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. He'll gavel tonight's meeting to order.
Okay, see the board? See it up there? Okay, hit it twice. Good, and then give it to Jaden. There you go. All right. Just stay up here. All right, so will the meeting please come to order? We welcome you to the Metro Council. Today is Tuesday, January 7th, 2020. First meeting of the decade. Will all members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this evening will be offered by Hamid Abdullah from the Mahid al-Islam, a guest of council member Jonathan Hall.
With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. All praises be to God, the cherisher and sustainer of all the worlds. We want to ask God to bless this city. We want to ask God to bless this city that we all love and this city that does so much to make sure that all people are welcome. We want to ask God to bless this leadership with the mayor's office and the council to make wise decisions on behalf of our city. And we want to thank God for all of the people that are here this evening, and we know that you could be anywhere, but God saw fit for you to be here tonight. But most of all, we want to thank God for the people of our city, because these are the people that make our city work. So it is in your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. You may be seated. Our special guest up here, first to my right, is Daniel Rutherford, a third grader. He is the son of council member John Rutherford, and he was the first one to bang the gavel. And Jaden Johnson, who is a senior at Hillwood High School, is right behind Daniel. He was the second person. He was the person who banged it a little bit louder. So please join me in welcoming these two and thanking them for doing this. All right. Nice to meet you. You can go see your dad. Okay. Okay, nice to meet you. Okay, just go down this way. All right, without objection, we will suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of the meeting from December 17, 2019? That's a proper motion, proper second. Without objection, the minutes of the meeting will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, any messages from the mayor?
No, Mr. Vice Mayor, there are no messages from the mayor.
No messages from the mayor, and I believe I was told that the mayor is here. Is the mayor? There he is. He's in the back. Mr. Mayor, welcome to the Metro Council. Thank you for being here. All right, so several announcements before we fully get into the agenda. So the city of Nashville, county of Davidson County, and this body, particularly this council body, lost one of its most influential leaders this past weekend with the passing of Mr. Don Jones. Mr. Jones, for years, sat at the desk to my right. He was the director of the Metro Council and its legal counsel. Mr. Jones was really something. I worked with him. I had the chance to work with him for many, many years. He's very influential. In fact, the Tennessean once asked in an article, it was actually in 1999, whether Mr. Jones was the most powerful man in Metro. And you know what? He just might have been. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Don's wife, Sue, his daughters, their families. Mr. Jones's obituary and the remarks of our own John Cooper, who gave the eulogy, are on your desk. If you will please rise with me, join me in a moment of silence for Mr. Jones. All right, thank you. So a couple of other things. Our special subcommittees are to conclude their work by the end of this month, with a report due back to my office by that time. I want to make sure that we have a big shout out to the Tennessee Titans for their win last week against the Patriots. Now it's on to Baltimore. And a welcome, it's my understanding, to the new Predators coach, John Hines, who was named as head coach this morning. And the Predators are getting ready to start. They play in 5 minutes. You have on your desk a memorandum concerning an additional vacancy of the Community Oversight Board. So as you may remember, there was a deadline as of today to submit nominations for the 2 vacant seats on the Community Oversight Board. Since that announcement at the last meeting, we've had another vacancy. Danita Marsh has resigned, which leaves a 1-year term. Whoever takes that place would fulfill the remaining term that she had, and it's an actual 1-year term. All right, so this complicates things a little bit, but we're going to go through it tonight, make sure we understand kind of where we are, see if you have any questions about how we're doing this. The nominations submitted by today were for the 2 vacancies that we already knew about. They are in, and they will receive questionnaires to fill out. Before I get through all this, I will go through, we had 11 nominations. I'll go through the names. The new vacancy, which was created by the resignation of Ms. Danita Marsh, will operate under a new timetable for nominations. Those nominations for that 3rd vacancy must be in to the clerk's office, the Metro Clerk's office, by 4:30 p.m. on January 21st of 2020. This is all in the memorandum on your desk. So now the individuals who were nominated for the original 2 slots are the only individuals eligible for those 2 slots. So we have 11 names. Those are eligible for those 2 slots. We will, as I said, be taking new nominations for the 3rd slot. You have to get them in again by January 21st, 2020. Anyone who is properly before the council for selection for the first 2 slots and who are not selected for either of those 2 slots can be eligible for the 3rd slot. Let me repeat that again. Anyone who is properly before the council for selection for the first 2 slots, these are the 11 nominees, assuming they get through the process, fill out the questionnaire, and go through the Rules Committee. If they are not elected to one of those 2 slots that are open, they would be eligible for the 3rd slot. Anyone who files just for the 3rd slot will only be eligible for that 3rd slot. Makes sense. So you can't go backwards, you can go forwards, but people can't now file and try to go backwards for the 2 slots because that deadline has already passed. So for that 3rd slot, questionnaires for those who get their nominations in on time. The questionnaires are due by noon on January 28th. So remember, the nominations for the 3rd slot due January 21st, 2020. Questionnaires are due by noon on January 28th. All nominees who are properly before this body will be scheduled to appear before the Rules Committee on February the 4th, and the vote to fill all 3 seats will be on February 4th at the full council meeting. So we have enough time to do them all on the same night. We'll do the first 2 and then the 3rd slot, but we can do them all on February 4th. They will all go before the Rules Committee on February the 4th. Now, we always hold back just in case we get a flood of nominations, but at this point we have 11. We think we can do that. I'm looking at the chairman of the Rules Committee. I think we can pull it off on February the 4th. So the memo that explains all this is on your desk. It will be posted on the nashville.gov website. So if people are interested watching at home, you can go to nashville.gov, go to boards and commissions, go to the Community Oversight Board, and there will be a slot where we post that memo that's on your desk on the website. The clerk's office will also have it in their office as well if there's any questions regarding that. Any questions regarding any of that? We had the process down when we got the extra vacancy, then we had to come up with just kind of an additional process to take care of it. Now, what I did promise you at the last meeting was that I would read to you the nominees for the Community Oversight Board. These are the individuals who filed to fill the 2 vacancies that have terms expiring January 31st of 2023. These are the names, and they are in alphabetical order. Daniel Alvarez, Jane Ann Borum, Melvin Brown Jr., Cameron Chase, Ashley Davis, Kelly Iguacan, Vanessa Delgado Gonzalez, Ovid Timothy Hughes, Brenda Alejandra Perez de la Pena, Demarius LaShawn Witzel, and Samuel X. Those are the 11 names of the individuals who qualified today by nomination into the clerk's office by the proper deadline today. Any questions regarding any of that? Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. I noticed the name of Ashley Davis. Is that a reappointment, or is there anyone else on that list that would be asking for a reappointment?
Okay, so Councilmember Van Rees, Ashley Davis is applying a nomination to be reappointed to the Community Oversight Board. The other individual who was on the board was Emmett Turner, and Mr. Turner has not qualified, which means that he is not interested in reapplying. Okay. Any other questions regarding this? Councilmember Vercher, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I don't have their rules in front of me, and I remember vaguely regarding the exception of the new board, whether or not if they qualify to move forward again for a reappointment or not. Can you clarify that?
If they qualify automatically to...
I recall like the initial board could not be reappointed again. That's what I'm recalling as it relates to their rules. The initial board, I believe she was on the initial board.
That's correct, and we're double checking. We don't think...
I don't have the rules in front of me,
Yeah.
so I'm just asking for clarity.
They're eligible for
Yeah,
reappointment.
it was our understanding. We've looked at it. Obviously, we'll double check as we go through the process, but they are eligible to be to go back before the process. They would have to go through the same process we're going through right now. So it's not an automatic reappointment. They have to go through this process. Okay. Thank you, Council Member. All right. Anything else regarding that? I know it's a lot of information. If there's questions, please read the memorandum. But there are specific deadlines that we apply. I will remind council members, particularly those that were serving last term, that we had 150 nominations, and we got through that. Right now we're at 11. So we think we can handle this in a more expedient fashion this time around. But thank you for listening. That's very important. These positions are important. All right. Anything else? Seeing none, Councilmember Murphy, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Spread on the members' desk tonight is a letter from me, and it was emailed to you prior today. It explains the reason behind my request as the planning chair to suspend Rule 15 tonight. This is the rule that requires a meeting about the CIB prior to the operating budget being filed. First, holding such a meeting and going through the process in such a compressed time frame will not serve us well as a council or a city, in my opinion. With almost half the council consisting of new members who haven't gone through the process, the learning curve involved in the prioritization process used last year seems unfeasible. Second, and more importantly, I believe more work needs to be done regarding the CIB prioritization process in order to better reflect the needs of our city. I'm committed to continuing to work with the Planning Department and the Planning, Zoning, and Historical Committee to develop a more holistic approach to the CIB. And if the rule suspension motion is approved tonight, please rest assured that I will still make sure there is an opportunity to amend the CIB after it is filed to add or remove projects prior to its consideration on third reading here at the council. So with that, Vice Mayor, I'd like to move to suspend Rule 15.
Okay, so you've heard Councilmember Murphy's request to suspend the rules. So this is a suspension of it's Rule 15. Is there objection to suspension of the rules? Seeing none, then the rule is suspended. All right, thank you, Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you. I also have a point of personal privilege.
All right, Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you. As you heard earlier tonight, our former legal director, Don Jones, has passed away. We will be passing around a card for his family that I request that you will sign for him. We also have a card to pass along to Carrie Gentry's family. And then additionally, there was an officer killed in Hendersonville that I will be passing around a card that is particularly special to me because his wife was my sorority sister, and they have a 3-year-old daughter. And I think it is a reminder to all of us of the people who serve and protect us, and that they do leave behind families and loved ones. And so I would appreciate you signing all of those, and I will pass them starting at the at-large corner, and appreciate your support in signing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Murphy. All right, we're ready to move on to resolutions on public hearing. So the way this works is that I will call up the resolutions one at a time. We have 3 of them tonight. We'll refer to the sponsor unless the sponsor moves to defer the public hearing. Sponsor will call for a public hearing. What that means is that I will then ask for a show of hands for those who are here in favor, and then I'll ask for a show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. If anyone in favor wishes to speak, I'll ask you to come forward, introduce yourself, and give us your address. Then you will have 2 minutes in which to speak. Then I ask if anyone opposed wishes to speak. Same thing applies, name, address, and you have 2 minutes. After that process, we close the public hearing, refer back to the sponsor. First resolution up is Resolution RS 2020-143 by Councilmember Withers. It's a resolution exempting the Frothy Monkey, Inc., located at 1701 Fatherland Street, Suite A, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to Section 7.08.090E of the Metropolitan Code. Councilmember Withers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Could I get committee reports on this one,
You
please?
certainly can. Councilmember Pulley, Public Safety.
Public Safety Beer and Regulated Beverages Committee recommended approval 4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Withers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing,
Okay,
please.
declare the public hearing open on the resolution. Can I see a show of hands of those who are here in favor of the resolution? I see some people in the back. Okay, show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Seeing none in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. I see no one coming. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Withers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to move approval with a brief comment.
All right, so there's a motion to approve, properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you to my colleagues. I know that we had a lot of support and emails that came, and appreciate everyone who came out tonight. I do want to acknowledge for the viewing audience, though, as well tonight, that, you know, many things in East Nashville are highly contested, and this one actually was no different. We had a very robust discussion about this application within the Laughlin Springs neighborhood in particular. I appreciate the owners of the building who have been terrific neighbors, who have opened up their business to the Laughlin Springs Neighborhood Association in the past for neighborhood meetings. I've had community meetings there. They've been really, really great neighbors. I'm looking forward to continuing that relationship with Frothy Monkey, the new business that is opening there. We do have a lot of folks in Laughlin Springs, especially in this area. It's a little bit away from 5 Points, that really are concerned about making sure that we maintain sort of the quietness of that area. I've heard that concern. I'm very confident with the building owners that are going to continue to own it, who still live in our community, that with this particular tenant, if I had some issues, I could call not only the business owners, whom I also have gotten to know, but also the building owners, and could resolve that speedily. So I'm very comfortable with this new business that's opening, that they will be respectful of the community, will be great contributors to the community, and I look forward to them opening very soon, and appreciate everyone's vote and support.
All right, so Councilmember Withers has moved approval. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Resolution RS 2020-144 by Councilmember Benedict. Resolution exempting Tiny Room LLC, located at 1106 Chester Avenue, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd ask for committee reports, please.
All right, committee reports. Councilmember Pulley, you're recognized.
Public Safety Beer and Regulated Beverages Committee recommended approval 4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Benedict.
I'd like to ask the public hearing to be opened.
All right, so I declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. All right, show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. All right, so we got people on both sides. Those in favor wish to speak. If you do, if you'd come forward and just go ahead and line up so that we can get you in. I need name, address, and then you'll have 2 minutes in which to speak. Anybody in favor, go ahead and line up so we can go ahead and get this through. All right, sir, you are recognized.
Gilman Avenue in Nashville. I'm the owner of the subject property, and I strongly support the requested beer permit for my tenant, the Tiny Room. I believe my tenant's concept will add value to this neighborhood and serve as an amenity for the residents. Even though this property is just off Gallatin Avenue, there are a few similar offerings within walking distance. The sale of beer will be integral to my tenant's concept and will enhance the experience of its customers. Please note, this is a commercially zoned property surrounded on all sides by other commercially zoned properties. A wide array of commercial uses are expressly permitted here, including all aspects of my tenant's intended use. Even though there are residential tenants at one of the adjacent properties, 1108 Chester Avenue, that property is actually zoned commercial as well. Finally, with regard to any potential parking concerns, I just acquired a vacant lot next door, and I'm planning to develop a surface parking lot on that property. That lot will serve the Tiny Room and other surrounding businesses. For these reasons, I respectfully request council approval of the distance exception here. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gabby Allegret, and I'm the owner of Tiny Room. Thank you for having me, council members and neighbors. It is our intent to have a showcase venue and a gathering place for neighbors and visitors all over Nashville. We want them to enjoy the retail space, which also showcases local artists as well as our personal brand, Glimmer Life. The artistic showcase of local visual artists, music, small bites, morning coffee, and hopefully an afternoon drink. Our space is meant to be an amenity for the community, and it's meant to cause no disruptions to our surrounding neighbors. We intend to have a space that is family-friendly during the days and hopefully adult-oriented during the evenings. We will keep conducting our business, as always, according to the law and following all regulations, as we've done so far. And being able to offer beer at this location will add to the amenities that we want to offer our patrons, as do other like businesses around. And we understand that there was concerns with the property 1108, and we've talked to the tenants, and I have their numbers, and we are in full communication with whoever wants to be a part of it. And we just here for everybody and here for the community. So as Justin, I hope for yes. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I need your address if you don't mind.
505 North 18th Street.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? All right, seeing none, those who are in opposition, anybody wishing to speak, if you'd come forward. Go ahead and line up. I need your name, address, and you'll be given 2 minutes to speak.
Good evening. I'm Hank Cardwell, 1505 Saunders Avenue. My wife Lauren and I own the house next door to 1108 Chester Avenue, where we lived for 11 years before moving a few miles north. We've continued to operate the home as a residential rental property. To my knowledge, neither our property nor 1106 Chester has been utilized as a commercial property since they were upzoned from R6 to CL in 1998. Our current tenants have been there for 2 years. The walls of 1106 Chester are 24 feet from our tenant's closest bedroom window. I'm not opposed to a business at 1106 Chester. I am opposed to the potential late-night noise and parking troubles that operating a business with a beer permit would bring to the residents. I believe that this is the reason for the law. Over the past 6 or so years, development has transformed the 1100 block of Chester Avenue from about 13 units to over 50 housing units. We are struggling to meet each other and work as a community with a rapid growth on the block. Parking and litter are significant challenges. The December 13th timing of the notification with the holidays has created a situation where many of the potentially affected residents are still trying to gather information and discuss. By way of example, Jeff and Beth Deaton recently purchased a home at 1110 Chester, which is about 80 feet from 1106 and zoned R6. They have been and are still out of town and did not receive the notice. They were only made aware on last Friday, January 3rd, when I reached out to them regarding a community meeting hosted by Ms. Allegret at 1106. With Jeff's permission, I will read an excerpt from his emails and text to me, quote, "We're struggling to find any upside to allowing this exemption to be approved," end quote. The property at 1106 has been under renovation for over 8 months, I believe, and Ms. Allegret and I have spoken multiple times during the process. But the December 13th letter was the first time I was made aware of the intent to sell beer at this business. Ms. Allegret has done beautiful work at the 1106 property, and I wish her all the best with her venture, but I do not support this exemption at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You can go ahead.
Lauren Cardwell, 1505 Saunders Avenue. Since 2006, my husband and I have owned 1108 Chester Avenue, the home adjacent to the property in question at 1106. Over the last several months, as Ms. Allegret has been renovating 1106, my husband has spoken with her in passing about her business, a performing art and retail space with light food and beverage. However, it was not until a neighbor notified us of receiving a mailing in mid-December that we, the owners of the home next door to Ms. Allegret, learned that she had applied for a beer permit. Codes mandate a 100-foot distance between a business that sells beer and a residential home. Our home was upzoned from residential to commercial limited in 1998, but has been occupied as a residence to the best of my knowledge since 1930. Our living room wall and window are 23 feet from the exterior wall of 1106. The nearest bedroom window and wall are 24 feet from 1106's exterior wall. The home on the other side of us, the second home down from 1106, is a residentially zoned property. It is about 80 feet from 1106. Thus, there are not one but two homes used as residences, one of which is zoned as a residence within 100 feet of the property in question. The code exists to protect residents from the consequences of living too close to an establishment that sells beer. It is my understanding that the code stands unless there is a compelling reason to provide an exemption. To my knowledge, no such reason exists. In fact, Ms. Allegret's business seems to have several potential sources of revenue, and she herself stated at our recent community meeting that selling beer was not part of her original business plan and had only recently occurred to her. She also said in this meeting that she does not yet have defined hours of operation, and she would use this space 24/7 if she could, although she understands she can only operate from 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. In fact, on September 28th, our tenants made a 5 a.m. call to Metro Police for excessive noise at 1106 after knocking on the door and receiving no response. I have spoken with other residents on our block, and no one I have spoken with supports this exemption. I ask you, what is the compelling reason to provide an exemption, especially when there is strong neighborhood opposition? I ask you to reject or at the very least defer the proposed exemption.
All right, thank you.
Hi there, my name is Michelle Folletta, and I live at 1119 Chester Avenue, about 200 feet from the Tiny Room LLC. We love many things about our neighborhood, especially the growth and improvement that has been a fast and exciting process to watch. I welcome any and all businesses to our neighborhood and hope that they find success, and I deeply admire Gabby, her drive, and her dream to create an exciting community space in our neighborhood. However, I do not believe that an exemption to the law should be made. I take great pride in our growing and blossoming family-friendly street, and I believe that allowing this exemption would alter our neighborhood's ability to remain as such. We've committed ourselves and our family to the best interest of Chester Avenue, and in that interest cannot support the exemption for this beer permit. We ask that at the bare minimum, we are able to defer this matter until the remainder of our neighbors are able to catch up and become aware of the full situation. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Matthew Bell. I also live at 1119 Chester Avenue. My thoughts on the matter are pretty simple. There's an ordinance in place to prevent the operation of a bar within 100 feet of a residence. We have two families living within that area, one of which is only 24 feet away. At this point, I haven't heard a compelling argument for why this business shouldn't have to operate under the same rules everyone else does. We like the owner, Ms. Allegret, a whole lot and hope that her business is successful, but the bar aspect defies the very spirit of this ordinance. I have not heard from one single neighbor of ours who lives on Chester Avenue who's in support of this exemption, some of which are here today, but many have emailed Councilmember Benedict with their statements of opposition. Had the notices for this hearing not gone out during the holidays, I believe there'd be many more neighbors in attendance as well. I would hope that at the very least we defer this resolution rather than rush it through while many of the neighbors are still unaware that a bar could potentially be opened in a house on our street. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I was at the community meeting that the applicant held with the community, and I feel like there is a lot of good dialogue that has begun. However, as you can tell from the folks here tonight, I don't think we've sussed this out well enough yet, and that may be partly due to the holiday season for sure. I would like to go ahead and defer this resolution for one meeting, and we'll plan to get together with the community and, again, try to suss out these concerns, make sure that everybody in the neighborhood is comfortable with a go-forward plan. With that, I move deferral, one meeting.
So the motion is to defer one meeting. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're on the deferral motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. You adopt motion. This resolution is deferred one meeting. Thank you all for coming out on that. Before I go further to the last resolution, I did want to recognize former council member Erica Gilmore, who is sitting in the back. Council member Gilmore, welcome. We're glad you're back. Resolution RS 2020-145 by Councilmember Parker, a resolution exempting Plain and Simple LLC located at 1315 Dickerson Pike from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Pulley, Public Safety.
After an enthusiastic recommendation by Councilmember Parker, Public Safety Beer and Regulated Beverages Committee recommended approval, 4 in favor, 0 again.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. All right, thank you. A show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Seeing nobody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. See no one coming forward. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
Okay, got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Thank you, Councilmember Parker. I think I see Brenda Haywood in the back. She's a former council member. I didn't want to forget her. Councilmember Haywood, if you'll just stand up so we can recognize you, we're glad you're here as well. We like the fact that former council members keep coming back here. I think it's because they liked it so much when they were here. All right, we're now on bills on public hearing. So same thing, same type of process applies. I will call up the bills one at a time, refer to the sponsor. Unless the sponsor moves to defer the public hearing, the sponsor will call for a public hearing, then ask for a show of hands of those who are here in favor, show of hands of those who are in opposition. If anybody wishes to speak, please come forward, introduce yourself, give us your address, and you have 2 minutes in which to speak. All right, so the first bill up is Bill 2019-8 by Councilmember Roberts and Benedict. This is an ordinance amending Section 17.20.120 of Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code pertaining to the provisions of sidewalks. Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Am I doing committee reports on this, then public hearing?
No, you don't have to do a committee report.
I'd like to open the public hearing.
So do you want to just go ahead and defer?
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
So, yes, in fact, I do.
Let me just tell you what you'd like to do.
Thank you.
No, I believe the motion is to defer until the first meeting in March?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got that one. All right, so the motion is to defer to the first meeting in March, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. You adopt. Thank you, Councilmember Benedict. BL 2019-48 by Councilmember Rosenberg. Ordinance amending Section 17.16.250 of Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws relative to home occupation. Councilmember Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to introduce a substitute, please.
Okay, so there's a motion on a substitute, properly seconded. Back to you for discussion of the substitute.
Thank you, Mr. President. This substitute implements some recommendations from the Planning Department and other conversations that have been had over the past month or two. Appreciate those who have signed on, welcome others too, and would ask for us to put the substitute on. Did we already do that?
All right, so there's a motion to approve the substitute, properly seconded. Any discussion on the substitute? So we're just voting on the substitute at this point.
To put the substitute on the bill.
Put the substitute on the bill. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Substitutes adopted. You're now on your bill as substitute.
Great. I'd like to defer second reading and the public hearing to the first meeting in March, please.
Okay, so the motion is to take the bill as substitute, defer the public hearing to the first meeting in March. Is that right? Okay. That's the motion, properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. A motion to defer the bill as substitute to the first meeting in March is approved. BL 2019-61 by Councilmember Toombs. This was approved by the Planning Commission. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from RA to RM15A, zoning for properties located at 2127 and 2129 Cliff Drive. It's approximately 570 feet southeast of Buena Vista Pike. It's .40 acres. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move to defer to the first meeting in February.
Okay, so there's a motion to defer to the first meeting in February. So what that's going for the viewing audience and for the people in the back, we're not having the public hearing, we're just deferring the bill into the first meeting in February. That's the motion, properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The bill is deferred to the first meeting in February. Bill 2019-69 by Councilmember Toombs. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from RS10 to RM9A, zoning for property located at 3413 John Mallet Drive at the southern corner of Ashton Avenue and John Mallet Drive. It's .42 acres. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move to defer to the first meeting in February.
All right, so the motion is deferred to the first meeting in February, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-89 by Councilmember Taylor. Approved by the Planning Commission 601 on 8/22/2019. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by requesting to rezone from CS and RS5 to MULA zoning for property located at 1757 16th Avenue North and 1601, 1603, and 1609 Buchanan Street, approximately 70 feet southeast of Buchanan Street. It's 1.03 acres. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. All right, thank you. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Seeing nobody here in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. See nobody coming forward. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
All right, so the motion is to approve. This is on second reading. Motion is to approve. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-90 by Councilmember Lee. Approved by the Planning Commission 701 on 9/12/2019. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from AR2A to RS10, zoning for property located at 4465 Laverne, Couchville Pike, approximately 75 feet southwest of Rockland Trail. It's 5.01 acres. Councilmember Lee, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to ask for committee reports.
So no committee reports are necessary. You can do what you want.
Okay, then I would like to defer this to the first meeting in February for the public hearing.
All right, so the motion is to approve to defer until the first meeting in February. Properly seconded. Any discussion about the deferral motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. This matter is deferred to the first meeting in February.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. BL 2019-91 by Councilmember Taylor, approved by the Planning Commission 701 on 9/12/2019. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from MUGA to MUIA, zoning for property located at 345 24th Avenue North, approximately 400 feet west of 23rd Avenue North. It's 1.85 acres. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. Thank you. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Those anybody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
Got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion on the measure? We're on second reading. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-92 by Councilmember Stiles, approved by the Planning Commission 8-0 on 10/10/2019. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from AR2A to MULA zoning for property located at 5200 Hickory Hollow Parkway, approximately 1,200 feet west of Bell Road at 6.6 acres. Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized. If I can get the cursor over there. There you go.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All right, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. All right, thank you. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Seeing no one in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized.
Actually, there was someone that did want to speak, just as you were banging. Are you?
Oh, somebody wishes.
Okay. She changed her mind. She's still supporting. That's good.
Okay.
So we're fine.
All right.
Move for approval.
So I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Anybody wishing to speak in terms of the council? See nobody in the queue. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-93 by Councilmember Taylor, approved by the Planning Commission 7-0 on 7/18/2019. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from RS5 to R6A zoning for properties located at 4006 Clifton Avenue and 805 40th Avenue North at the northwest corner of Catherine Johnson Parkway and 40th Avenue North. It's 0.41 acres. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, so declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. All right, thank you. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Seeing nobody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. All right, you're too far back there anyway. I can barely see you. All right, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. Move for approval, please.
Got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-102 by Councilmember Toombs. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from CL and RS 7.5 to RM 20A zoning for properties located at 2206, 2210, and 2214 Monticello Drive at the southwest corner of Monticello Drive and Avondale Circle. It's 0.61 acres. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move to defer to February.
Okay, so I got a motion to defer one. It's actually two meetings, but it's to the first meeting in February. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the deferral? Seeing none, all those in favor of the deferral say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. This is deferred to the first meeting in February. BL 2019-103 by Councilmember Van Rees, approved by the Planning Commission 7-0 on 10/24/2019. An ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from R10 to RM9A zoning for properties located at 428 Williams Avenue and Nesbitt Lane unnumbered at the northern terminus of Walker Terrace. It's 9.0 acres. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
Yes, with committee reports in, I request a public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. Okay. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Seeing nobody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak? Nope. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
Yes, I move approval, but I do want to enter a letter into the record on this particular project. At the community meeting, it was clear that there was some concern in regard to the connectivity that's required at the terminus of a dead-end street, and the applicant has spoken with myself and the neighbors, and there is a letter indicating their desire to be helpful to them should it be required. So I want to go ahead and enter that into the record. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And with that, I move approval.
Okay, so I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. The letter is being entered into the record. So the motion is to approve. Any discussion? So we got a motion to approve. This is BL 2019-103. Seeing nobody in the queue, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Thank you, Councilmember Van Rees. BL 2019-104 by Councilmember Sledge, approved by the Planning Commission 8-0 on 10/24/2019. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from R6 to OR20A zoning for properties located at 755, 757, 759, and 761 Linwood Avenue, approximately 160 feet excuse me, west of Ridley Boulevard is .59 acres. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. Right. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Seeing none, those in favor wish to speak? No. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move approval.
Motion to approve on second reading, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-105 by Councilmember Syracuse, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission, 8-0 on 11/14/2019. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by amending a specific plan for property located at 921 Perimeter Court, approximately 830 feet southeast of Perimeter Place Drive, 3.42 acres to permit 64,500 square feet of hotel use. Councilmember Syracuse, you recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. So we have people on both sides. Those in favor wish to speak? If so, if you'd come forward. Okay. I see somebody getting up. If you're in favor, if you want to speak. Now, are you in opposition?
Opposition.
Okay, so we do the people in favor first, and then I'll come to you. Okay, name, address, and you have 2 minutes.
My name is Seth Spartman, 738 Brook Hollow Road. Thank you for your time. This property is already approved as an SP with 99 units. So this would amend that to add 114 hotel rooms. Feel that that's a reasonable request and appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, those in opposition, name, address, and you've got 2 minutes.
Yeah, good evening, Happy New Year. Charlie Morales, I represent Ecclestone Group, ownership of the Sheraton Music City, just right up the street. And we're just voicing our opinion that rezoning of the parcel for the hotel development is not desired by our ownership at this time, until we can find out some more information of what type of brand is exactly going into that parcel. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right.
210 Fall Street is the address.
Okay, thank you. All right, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Syracuse, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'll move approval with brief comment.
All right, so I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Back to you for a brief comment.
Thank you very much. This is in the middle of the Opry area. It does not impact any neighborhoods. Obviously, what you hear back here is a little disagreement between perhaps one hotel developer and another existing hotel. I have not been contacted by the other hotel, but I have been in touch with Mr. Sparkman and the folks who are doing this, and I believe it will be add a great value to the already thriving hotel market within the Opry area. So I'll ask for your approval. Move approval.
All right, so I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion on the measure? All right, we're on BL 2019-105. This is on second reading. Seeing nobody else in the queue, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. So that's BL 2019-105. BL 2019-106 by Councilmember Rutherford, approved by the Planning Commission 8-0 on 10/24/2019. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from AR2A to MULA zoning for property located at 6210 Nolensville Pike, approximately 180 feet southeast of Bienville Drive, and within a corridor design overlay district. It's 3.21 acres. Councilmember Rutherford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to open the public hearing.
All right, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. All right, thank you. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Seeing nobody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. All right, Mr. Stern, of course. Come on up.
Yeah, the only reason I stand to address you.
And you need to give me your name and address.
John Stern, representing Cane Ridge Community Trust, 6688 Nolensville Pike, Cane Ridge 37027. This is an unusual bill and an unusual piece of legislation, quite remarkable actually. We're currently tracking about 20 developments out in the Cane Ridge area, 10 of which that are pretty active. This particular one came on our radar a couple of months ago. And it came on board because the codes department were actually implementing enforcement action, believe it or not. And it was caused by what we understand is a developer who wanted to buy a piece of property from a little old lady. And this little old lady happened to have a 3-acre piece of property with 4 little rental units on it, back in the woods. Can't see it from Nolensville Pike. She wouldn't sell it to him, so he turned her in. Councilman Rutherford was contacted, and he did the compassionate thing, which was to initiate a series of efforts to find a way to solve this particular problem. First, going to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which it is still at, and we think with the help of our attorney, it may be able to be passed as a grandfathered use. They've been there for 30 years, for goodness sakes. But if that doesn't work, we're looking at doing a simple rezoning because they can't afford to do a complex special plan. But with the partnership of Metro government and a nonprofit organization, Cane Ridge Community Trust, we're going to be able to put restrictive covenants on that property so that when the woman does pass, the unrestricted uses aren't allowed. So thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councilman Rutherford.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on this one? All right, seeing none, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Rutherford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move for passage.
Okay, motion is to approve. Properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Thank you, Councilmember. We're now on BL 2019-107. We're on page 5 of the calendar. Councilmember Sepulveda, approve with conditions, disapprove without. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from R6 to SP zoning on property located at 325 Flora Maxwell Road, approximately 730 feet east of Nolensville Pike. It's 0.32 acres to permit 4 multifamily residential units. Councilmember Sepulveda, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to open the public hearing.
All right, so declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. All right, thank you. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. Seeing nobody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. Okay, got an individual coming up. Hold on just a second. And sir, what I'll need is name, address, and you'll be given 2 minutes.
Edward Henley, address 1208 3rd Avenue South.
Okay.
I'll be brief. I just would like to commend the Planning Commission and those in the Planning Department for working through a process that was a little bit more complex than we thought it would be about 2 years ago when we started. And then also to compliment Councilwoman who stepped in midway through the process, continued to steward it to this point. I think has done a great job thus far being a representative for the community and making sure the conversation continued when she stepped into that role. That's all.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? All right, seeing none, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Sepulveda, you're recognized.
Move for approval.
Okay, got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Thank you, Councilmember. And the last bill on bills on public hearing, BL 2019-108 by Councilmember Taylor, approved by the Planning Commission 10-0 on 6/27/2019. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 1601 Knoll Street at the southwest corner of 16th Avenue North, and Knoll Street is 0.18 acres. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All right, declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the measure. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to the measure. See no hands anywhere, so I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
Got a motion to approve. This bill's on second reading. Motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Thank you, Councilmember Taylor. So we're now ready for bills on the consent agenda. These are resolutions. I'm going to go through, make sure I know which ones are on the consent agenda and which ones are not. So, and then if I've missed something or if I need to change something, please let me know. Consent agenda, resolution RS 2020-146, 147. These are items on the consent agenda. 146, 147, 148, 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, 156, 158, and so far I've got 159, but I believe we want to bump that one. Councilmember Porterfield, do we want to bump RS 2020-159? Okay, so that one comes off. Those are the ones that are on the consent agenda, but I've got some people who have lined up to speak. Councilmember Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to take 160 off, please.
Okay, so I've got that one off the consent. All right, thank you. Councilmember Sepulveda? Hold on, there you go.
I'd like to take off 157.
Okay, got that one off. All right, thank you. Councilmember O'Connell?
I'd like to pull RS 2020-154, please.
154, okay. And Councilmember Virtue, you're recognized.
Councilman O'Connell got it for me, 154.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman.
Anything else that I'm missing? I think I got everybody in the queue. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go back over this to make sure we've got this right. This is on the consent agenda. It's 146, 147, 148, 150, 151, 152, 153, 155, 156, and 158. Anything that I missed? Well, 149, I think, is being deferred. That's why it's off. Okay. All right. All right, so these are the bills on consent. I'm going to read you the captions, and then we'll go to committee reports. RS 2020-146 by Hurt, Mendes, and Welsh. Resolution approving a government entity partner participation agreement by and between GreaterGood.org and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting through the Metropolitan Board of Health to make the Metropolitan Board of Health aware of grant funding opportunities for which it may be eligible. 2020-147, Mendes, Hurt, and Welsh. Resolution approving a contract by and between the State of Tennessee Department of Health and the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to access the Vital Records Information Systems Management System for the purpose of issuing copies of certificates. Resolution RS 2020-148 by Council Members Mendez. Resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Kimberly Britton against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $125,000, with said amount to be paid out of the self-insured liability fund. Excuse me. Resolution RS 2020-150 by Council Members Mendez and Pulley. Resolution approving an application for an emergency management performance grant from the State of Tennessee, Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by through the Office of Emergency Management to subsidize the emergency management program. RS 2020-151, Council Members Mendez and Pulley. Resolution approving a contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and Image Trend, Inc. to provide emergency medical services and fire department data collection and reporting software for the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. Resolution RS 2020-152, Mendez, Welsh, and Hancock. Resolution approving a grant from Living Cities to the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Finance Department Procurement Division to support the city's work with the City Accelerators Retake Inclusive Procurement Cohort Program to improve the participation of minority and women-owned businesses in the Metropolitan Government's procurement process. Resolution RS 2020-153, Mendez and Roberts. Resolution approving a contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and Environmental Systems Resource Institute, Inc. to provide GIS products and services for the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. Resolution RS 2020-155, Henderson and Hancock. Resolution approving Amendment 1 to a grant from the State of Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation to the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Nashville Public Works Department to support the implementation of the 2015-2025 Solid Waste and Materials Management Plan to increase materials management, education, and outreach to the public. Resolution RS 2020-156, Council Members O'Connell, Mendez, and others. Resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Metropolitan Government through acting by and through the Department of Public Works for the resurfacing and repairing of .7884 miles of Fessler's Lane from SR1 Murfreesboro Pike to SR 24 Lebanon Pike. It's project number 19 SAR1 S8007. Resolution RS 2020-158 by Councilmember Rosenberg. Resolution approving the election of certain notaries publics for Davidson County. I believe that's got them all. So I am now going to go to committee reports. Anything that I said that needed to be bumped? We good? All right. So affordable housing, Councilmember Allen. You've got 20, so 160, it was bumped, so I'll come back to you. All right. Councilmember Mendez, you're recognized for budget and finance.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. For the matters on the consent agenda, all of them were approved by Budget and Finance, 11 in favor, 0 against, and those were RS 2020-146, 147, 148, 150, 151, 152, 153, and 156.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hurt, Health and Hospitals.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Health, Hospitals, and Social Services Committee voted in favor four in favor and 0 against for resolutions RS 2020-146 and 147.
All right, thank you. I've got personnel. Councilmember Roberts, is somebody taking care of that one? Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. For RS 2020-153, 4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Pulley, Public Safety.
Public Safety recommended approval of RS 2020-150 and 151, 4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Henderson, you're recognized for Public Works.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Public Works Committee recommends approval for resolutions 155 and 156. 11 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. And Councilmember Rosenberg, rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rules voted on RS 2020-158, 6 in favor, none against, and I move approval of the consent agenda.
All right, so I got a motion to approve all matters on the consent agenda, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt all measures on the consent agenda. Okay, so now we're going to go back. We'll take them up one at a time, the ones that were not. I've got Resolution RS 2020-149 by Councilmember Mendez, Pulley, and Hancock. It's a resolution appropriating for the benefit of the Davidson County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $587,900 in the general fund of the General Services District. Councilmember Mendez, you're recognized.
I went to one committee, Budget and Finance, that recommended deferring for one meeting, 11 in favor, 0 against, and with that, I'd move to defer one meeting.
Okay, it's an automatic deferral, so we're good to go. All right.
Thank you.
All right, so RS 2020-149 is deferred by rule. All right, so we're now on RS 2020-154, also by Councilmember Mendez and Hancock. Resolution directing the Metropolitan Department of Water and Sewer Services to make payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes. Councilmember Mendez.
Budget and Finance recommended approval for this one, 11 in favor, 0 against, and I'd move for approval.
Okay, I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Councilmember Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just need to be on the record for my district as it relates to the information that was disseminated to the community regarding the rate increases for 2020. The language that Metro Water Services used was for both water service and sewer service. Customers' bills include a fixed charge, a volumetric rate, and an infrastructure replacement fee. Nowhere in that language does it allude to that this rate also includes an amount that would go towards the general fund. So I want to be on record letting my constituents know that what they are actually paying for, they're paying for all of that and above, and also an additional cost to go towards the general fund. In my opinion, it's a way to raise taxes without raising taxes. So I want to be on the record for that for my district. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Vercher. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Considering that one of the resolutions we're looking at is a strong encouragement for finding the $5 million to make the Barnes Fund whole this year, I'm wondering if our attorney could speak a little bit to the prospects for potentially amending this to pull in $5 million just for FY19 and 20 to cover that $5 million gap.
Mr. Cooper.
So the rate increase that the council approved had been approved by the comptroller's office, and it was approved with the $10 million pilot payment built in. I don't know whether the comptroller would approve the rate increase if that 10 million went to 15 million. That's something that would have to be reviewed by Metro Water and the comptroller's office to determine. So I would not recommend amending this without that information.
I guess I'll ask you and possibly the administration or possibly the Chair of Budget and Finance if there is any harm from a one-meeting deferral on this.
So I'm looking at anybody who wants to take that one. Councilor Mendez, you're recognized.
I mean, the short answer is there's not harm, but I would, with all respect to my fine colleague, this rate increase that we already approved 5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I can't remember which meeting it was set up, approved by the comptroller, got through the council, and it's a done deal. This should be pretty rote to approve it. I hear the unhappiness about what exactly we approved and what the spending is, but a material part of why the city is in the financial position it's in is because we as a city collectively, whoever's been in charge, a lot of us in the room haven't figured out how to set an objectively set income structure and then live by it. And anytime there's some money that's built up, it gets glommed onto for one thing or another. And even if the thing it gets used for is an awesome use of money like affordable housing. And so, no, I don't think there's harm. But when we come back in a couple of weeks, at least, for my one vote, I'm going to push hard on the idea of we set the water rate structure the way we did, and that's done. That was way back in 2019, and now we need to move on to the budget process. And I don't like the affordable housing situation better than anybody else, but I am pretty opposed to trying to deal with it with water rate.
Councilmember O'Connell, I believe that Mr. Jameson wants to make a comment.
All right, very well.
And I think this was implied in Councilman Mendez's comments, but I just needed to be explicit that if there was an appetite to increase the $10 million to say $15 million or something else, keep in mind the discussion you heard on this floor at third reading of the rate increase in December made clear that the $10 million had been factored into that water rate increase. If you increase that $10 million, you would then also have to increase the Metro water rates that have already been approved by this council in December.
Okay. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thanks. That is helpful information.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized.
I just wanted to express my disappointment in the way that this has been handled. I know that I ran my campaign on being completely transparent, and I was here for the meeting where we talked about the rate increase, and never was a $10 million pilot discussed. It was to, there was a study apparently made, and that rate increase was to handle true costs and capital improvements that needed. And so my question would be, well, if there's $10 million, was that already factored in, or are there capital projects that are going to not happen because this $10 million is being brought to the general fund? I just wish it had been communicated better to this body what exactly that rate increase is. I'm not necessarily against it. I'm just disappointed in the process, because I feel like a lot of us here were blindsided by this all of a sudden $10 million coming from water, and right on the heels of a rate increase for our constituents.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Hurt, you're recognized.
My sentiments exactly what Council Lady Johnston has articulated. And it sounds like to me that Metro Water is financing the city. You know, so I'm just not sure what's really happening and what's really going on, because this $10 million is new to me as well. So I'm with Councilman O'Connell. I want to move that we defer this at least meeting.
All right, so Councilmember Hurt has moved to defer, properly seconded. So discussion on the deferral. This is a deferral motion for one meeting. Councilor Mendez, you're recognized.
If it ends up being a deferral to learn more about what we passed last month, that doesn't bother me as much as trying to defer to get money for affordable housing. But to be clear, and I hate to use up everybody's time, but to be clear, so NES pays one of these pilots, and it's $28 million a year, and it goes up every year. And they're the single biggest, I think, even more than Opryland, payer of money based, that's payment in lieu of tax instead of property taxes, but it's still $28 million. Water has been paying $4 million for 23 years. And they pay that money. It's a fraction of the value of services that they get from the rest of the metropolitan government. And in that way, while I understand the feeling that it feels like it's a sideways tax or backdoor tax, the reality is that compared to what the other major utility in town is doing, water pays a much smaller fraction compared to NES, and the number's been static for 23 years at $4 million. I don't think that we want, for the rest of eternity, for it to stay at $4 million, or frankly, at the new number of $14 million. I hope that when it gets to be 2050 and 2075 and the city's bigger and the value of Metro services to water goes up, I hope that number goes up. It's an operating cost for a fraction of the fair value of services that water gets. You know, if we need to go through this in more detail at another meeting, then I'm happy to entertain that, but I'd rather not, because I think we need the focus of this year to be on what we're going to do with the tax rate that's coming down the pike in just a couple months, rather than this relatively small dollar amount that we already approved last month. And so for that, I would oppose the motion to defer.
All right, so we're on a motion to defer. It's been properly seconded. I got a couple people in the queue. Councilmember Glover on the deferral. Okay, you're recognized.
Let me just also say, I think a lot of times there may be unintended consequences. If all of a sudden people feel like that we're deferring in order to fund affordable housing out of this, then we create another issue, I believe. I'm just going to ask everybody to please remember, over the last 4 years, I started warning us, saying, guys, we're heading down a wrong path here because we're going to get in a lot of financial trouble. And so, you know, this moved pretty quickly because the state stepped in, and unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of time in order for the Cooper administration to come up with a plan and for it to be approved by the state comptroller. And I believe, Mr. Cooper, it was, and I don't know if this would be you, Mr. Cooper, or Mr. Jameson, I believe the timeline that we followed was about as rapid as we possibly could in order to meet the deadline, because if I remember correctly, we did have a deadline. This had to be done by January 1st, or the state would do it for us. Am I remembering that correct? Okay. And so while I certainly don't like and I don't support, and Councilman Mendez and I will certainly disagree on how we do things in the future with regards to some of the funding, in this issue, I do believe, and again, I'm going to rely on either Mr. Jameson or Mr. Cooper to correct me if I'm incorrect on what I'm about to say. I just believe that the provision was already in there for the pilot. It got overlooked by past administrations. It did not get adjusted, even when there were other water rate increases that occurred, and that was my understanding. And yeah, it moved fast, and I agree. And I certainly want the full transparency as well. None of us are happy about it, but we were really, if you want to talk about a rock and a hard spot on this one, I firmly believe we were. So I don't think deferral is going to necessarily help us. I won't support deferring it for one meeting because I have to agree. I think we need to move to the next subject, and that's the property tax and eliminating some costs and things of that nature, and also make sure that we kind of keep the various issues separated and we don't all of a sudden have water funding affordable housing. We can all come up with different ideas on that, but so I won't be supporting the deferral.
All right, thank you, Council Member. I've got Council Member Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand how people could be upset maybe that they didn't get the full explanation when we had Mr. Crumbo here and the Comptroller's office, but certainly we know by now. There's no surprise. I got a letter from Mr. Crumbo, and I expect everyone else did, explaining what that pilot was. It's half of what they would be paying if they were a private enterprise, is in paying property taxes. And I really think it's important. I mean, one of the things I see as a newbie is we tend to get out of our lanes occasionally. I think we ought to treat the water rate as the water rate that funds the water business, and in this case, help pay some of the taxes that they might otherwise be paying if they were a private entity. So I too speak against the deferral.
All right, thank you, Council Member. Council Member Benedict.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So one of the things that I think is important in my experience, my short term here on the council, is that the work that we do in committee is you know, to suss out these kinds of things. And we spent some time on this in committee and had similar discussions to what we're having today. And as a committee, we decided to approve this. It was something that was disclosed. There's really nothing more that I could share in substance that's not already been shared. What I would just point out to my colleagues is that we did get this through committee, again, with much discussion, and I also will not support the deferral. I think that we should go ahead and move on, get this done, and get ready to move on to other budget items as the coming months approach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Council Member. Council Member Porterfield.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. I stand in agreement with some of my colleagues. This information was not originally disclosed to us. Many of us learned about it at the council meeting when Councilman Glover initially asked this question. So I stand in agreement that I believe we all want more transparency. We all want to make sure that this information is being disclosed to us so that we can make the best decisions when we are voting. At this point, we have voted on it. So my question is, in regards to the deferral, are we looking for a deferral in order to determine if an additional $5 million can be added, or are we looking at a deferral for a different reason? Because I think that will impact people's vote on the deferral. And I also wanted to clarify a statement that was made about using water to pay for affordable housing. I don't think that this is necessarily using water to pay for affordable housing. This is using water to put $5 million back in the general fund, and $5 million was taken away from the Barnes Fund. So this isn't giving the money, this isn't saying we're using this to pay for affordable housing. This is saying money was taken away from an area. We're getting money from water to put it back into the general fund overall. So it's funding the city overall, not just affordable housing. But if I could get clarification on the purpose of the deferral.
All right, thank you, Council Member. So Council Member Hurt made the deferral motion, so I'm going to go back to her. Council Member Hurt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and Vice Mayor, and thank all of my colleagues for their comments. But my request for this deferral was about trust. If we are going to be trusted by our constituents to make the very best decisions that we can, we need to have a clear understanding. And as far as I'm concerned, the information that we have tonight was not clearly defined or discussed in our previous meetings. It seems as though it may have been discussed, but maybe it was just not defined enough for there to be clear understanding for everyone. There are different levels of understanding amongst our colleagues, and for me, it was not an understanding for me. So with that, I think we need to acknowledge what has transpired, because it sounds like The taxes on the water comes from the constituents. The taxes that we're going to be asking for in a couple of months for the budget is going to come off of the backs of the constituents. And everything that we're doing to fund the city is coming off the backs of the constituents. And I think that we owe them something better than this. I do know that we passed it. There's been a lot of legislation that has passed that I've signed on, and I wasn't fully understanding it. And after the fact, the unintended consequences did come before us. So that's the purpose of my deferral request.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Porterfield, did that answer your question? Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm on Councilmember Van Rees. You're recognized.
Call the question.
All right, so previous question has been called for. We're just voting on the previous question at this point. That means that, are you ready to vote? Just on the previous question, all those in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We're on the vote. So let me clear the board. So now, pursuant to the rules, if there's a negative vote, then we're... Oh, okay, that's right. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. So we're on the motion to defer. That was what the previous question was. If you want to defer this, the motion was to defer one meeting, then you would vote aye. If you are opposed, you would vote no. All those in favor of the deferral motion for one meeting say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. So the deferral motion fails. Then we're back on the motion to approve this resolution, RS 2020-154. The motion was to approve. It was properly seconded. Now I've got the board lit back up again. Anybody else wishing to speak on the motion? We've already talked about the deferral. Councilmember Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Previous question.
All right, so we're back on the previous question. This is the previous, just voting on the previous question. All in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Previous question prevails. We're now on the motion to approve RS 2020-154. All those in favor of the motion? We have some no votes. Okay, so we do have to go on the board. I was trying to get way ahead. All right, so Madam Clerk, if you can get the machines ready, we're going to have to take a vote on the board. We're on RS 2020-154. Ready to go? All right, Madam Clerk, if you would, open up the machines. We are voting on RS 2020-154. Everybody voted who wanted to vote? Okay. Madam Clerk, close machines, take the vote.
$34 in favor, 2 against, 1 abstention.
All right, so the motion on to approve RS 2020-154 prevails. All right. All right, we're on to Resolution RS 2020-157 by Council Members Mendez and Henderson. This is a resolution modifying the master list of architects and engineers originally approved by Resolution number RS 94-1050. Council Member Mendez, you are recognized. There you go.
Budget and Finance recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against, and I think there's one other committee report.
Public Works, Councilmember Henderson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Public Works Committee recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
All right, back to you, Councilmember Mendez.
Move approval.
Okay, I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Councilmember Sepulveda, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I have many questions regarding this resolution. I know this is standard, but there's a bigger picture we need to consider. Right now, more than ever, we have to make sure that we are protecting our Nashville workers. It's incumbent upon the administration to guarantee that the companies on their master list will uphold the values of honest work and provide tools to remedy any violations that occur, such as wage theft and unsafe working conditions. Although some of these firms might deserve to be added to this list, I cannot in good conscience vote for this until some of my questions have been answered regarding bad actors.
All right. Thank you, Council Member. Council Member Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. Thank you for what you said, Councilwoman Sepulveda. I think that is a very important point that we need to consider. I would also like some information about how this was advertised so that architects and engineers could be added to this list. And I think that everything we do as a city, we have to be very intentional. We did great work over the last term. We, as in the council members that were here and the previous administration, Nashville did great work when it came to working with minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, LGBTQIA-owned businesses, and we have to make sure that we continue that work, and we have to make sure that we're being inclusive when we're looking at adding people to these lists. So my question is, how was this advertised, and was there any recruitment to make sure that there was diversity in the applicants?
Anybody with the ability to answer that question? Administration?
In the Public Works Committee tonight, Purchasing Agent Michelle Hernandez-Lane attended to address the committee, and she said that in every solicitation for this type of work, they include language telling people, make sure you're on the master list in order to be eligible to be considered. I don't know what kind of advertising they do, but she did say that the master list is very long and that almost every firm that is around is on the list. It's just a matter of getting your information into the purchasing agent and having the list updated. But beyond that, I'm not sure what advertising efforts are made.
Councilmember Porterfield, anything else?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know several council members, along with myself, we are asked many times by minority business owners how they can do business with the city, how they go through the procurement process, and how they could be added to these lists. So my ask here is that we are very intentional when we do these things, and that we make sure that small businesses and local businesses have the support that's needed, and that they understand how to navigate this process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So similar to the conversation we had on the previous resolution, I guess I would ask, I know we've had a conversation about lists like this in the past, and we've kind of asked generally, is there any urgency in approving this tonight, or is there a possibility of getting answers to some of the questions that the council members have raised? I guess I would ask that of the administration if there's any urgency to getting this passed tonight.
Mr. McGuire?
From the Finance Department's perspective, there is no sense of urgency.
So with that being said, I think the questions raised here are valid. I think there are questions that council brought up in the previous term, actually through the Do Better bill when it came to procurement issues. So I would move for a one-meeting deferral.
All right, so I've got a motion to defer for one meeting, properly seconded. Discussion on the deferral. I've got people in the queue. Councilmember Henderson, Councilmember Hurt on the deferral. Okay, Councilmember Hurt. Okay, Councilmember Mendez on the deferral.
Yeah, and this one, since there isn't any urgency that I know of, I think the deferral is fine. I do I wonder a little bit about process, since both committees recommended approval, and there's at least a handful of council members with questions. I want to make sure we get something figured out in the next couple of weeks. And so my request is, I guess the lead sponsor here would be that any council members that have got specific questions, get them to Council Director Cooper, certainly no later than the end of the week, so he can work on getting answers. And I would, I guess I would ask the sponsor of the motion to defer if he would mind changing that to be a motion to defer with re-referral to both committees.
Councilmember Sledge.
Be perfectly amenable, and I would amend my motion as suggested by the lead sponsor.
All right. So Councilmember Sledge is changing his motion to move to defer one meeting with a re-referral back to budget and to Public Works. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's the motion, properly seconded. Councilmember Sepulveda? Okay. All right. Then we're on a motion to defer with a re-referral back to Budget and Finance and Public Works. Nobody else in the queue to speak on that. Everybody in favor of the motion to defer, say aye. Opposed, no. The defer motion passes, and it's a re-referral back to Budget and to Public Works. All right, we're now on Resolution RS 2020-159. Councilmember Porterfield and Hurt. This is a resolution honoring the life of Carrie Gentry. Councilmember Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. I would like to thank Councilwoman Sharon Hurt for affording me the opportunity to partner with her on this resolution. It's not every day that we get the opportunity to honor someone who was so influential in to the city of Nashville, and the work that Mrs. Gentry did was just amazing. And when we think about her work and the work of Inez Crutchfield and Diane Nash, it's a wonderful opportunity that we have here to honor them and their legacy. So we wanted to pull this off the consent agenda to make sure that that she was honored. If this resolution is passed, we are working, Council Lady Hurt is working with the Gentry family so that we can do a formal presentation of this resolution to their family. And I'm going to yield my time to Council Lady Hurt so that we could just take a moment to honor Mrs. Gentry.
All right, if you don't mind, if you just get the committee report, and then I'll give it to Councilmember Hurt.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Rosenberg, you're recognized for rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rules voted 7 in favor, none against.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Porterfield, anything else?
That's it, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Hurt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I wanted to actually say something about the question in the last discussion regarding the master list, because one thing that...
You really need to stay on this one, because we're coming back to the other one. On the master list?
But I think it's very pertinent, because it was some of the same questions regarding the EBO, and because many of the minority contractors are subcontractors, they still have the opportunity to partner with those prime contractors. And as our legal counsel Cooper indicated, that there's a huge master list. Those that were listed in that, and what we got was just those in addition to.
Okay, but can you tie it into Ms. Gentry somehow?
Yes, because she fought very hard.
There you go.
For the rights of people. Although Mrs. Gentry was small in stature, she was bigger than life. She was a sweet, graceful, and gentle woman, yet stern and firm about the things she believed in most. Her family, church, community, and I take special privilege in saying her sorority. Some of you may know, like me, that Mrs. Gentry was a dancer, choreographer, and over the majorettes at Tennessee State University. What I didn't know is that she was also a model. She was in several videos of country star singers and musicians and commercials. So if I may share a short story, at Jump's annual Christmas extravaganza, we have the attendees take a picture by the beautiful Christmas tree that's decorated and give it to them upon leaving as a gift. So I stopped Miss Gentry as she entered into the event one year, and I asked her if she wanted to take a picture, and she emphatically said, "No, I'm not paying for somebody to take my picture." I said, "Well, you don't pay. It's free." She said, "Oh, in that case, then I'll take it." I thought she was being frugal. I did not know that she didn't pay to have her picture taken. She was paid for people to take that picture. So I also wanted to indicate that according to another soror of Miss Gentry's, Cassandra T. Walker, at her funeral services, she stated that Miss Gentry had a capacity for embracing and influencing others that seemed limitless. It was grounded in a deep love of God and family, which manifested itself in service to her community. She was focused, driven, and authentic, both an original and a classic. Carrie Gentry was absolutely a beloved and adored citizen of Nashville, and we all will miss her dearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Well said. Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. If the prime sponsors are supportive, I would like to ask that everybody voting in the affirmative can be listed as a sponsor as well.
Sponsors, okay? All right. So everybody will be added as a co-prime sponsor on this. Anybody else in the queue? All right, so the motion is to approve. It's been properly seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Thank you. All right, Resolution RS 2020-160 by Councilmember Allen, Toombs, and others. Resolution expressing support and commitment of the Metropolitan Council to fully fund the Barnes Fund for affordable housing and urging the mayor to restore remaining funds within the fiscal year with the aim of moving, or more immediately increasing affordably priced housing options in Nashville and Davidson County. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to give committee, actually, I will give the committee report.
That's right.
The Affordable Housing Committee voted 9 in favor and 0 against approval of this resolution.
Okay.
And with that, I would like to move for approval with a very brief explanation.
All right, so the motion is to approve properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to take the opportunity to actually speak about this resolution rather than simply pass it. And I was hoping the mayor would still be here, but I do want to thank the mayor for being here and also the housing advocates for being here in support of this. We all know how important affordable housing is, and we know that it was a great disappointment when we acknowledged that we had to impound some of the funding for that just as we were trying to award it. And I appreciate the administration's willingness that they have stated to return that money as quickly as they can, and simply wanted to officially state it by the council. I would encourage other members to sign on as well if you haven't already. The committee has signed on. Just want to use this moment to emphasize the importance of using every tool in our toolbox, and this is only one, to do what we can to quickly get housing available to people. With that, I renew my motion.
All right, thank you, council member. So it's a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Resolution RS 2020-161 by Councilmember Hurt. Resolution recognizing January as Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Councilmember Hurt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This resolution is being submitted in support of End Slavery Tennessee's commitment and effort to employ Nashville-Davidson County to go on record to tangibly show their support in recognizing the need to raise awareness and increase education to ensure that residents are knowledgeable about this problem. It is befitting that like other cities, businesses, corporations, that we go on record and designate our commitment to not only end, but prevent slavery and human trafficking. To that end, this resolution establishes our commitment to ensuring that we all act and are treated ethically, fairly, and with respect and dignity. So I would ask for your support of this resolution naming January the Prevention Month for End Slavery and Human Trafficking. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. We need a committee report from Councilmember Rosenberg on rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rules voted 8 in favor, none against.
Okay. Councilmember Hurt has moved for approval of Resolution RS 2020-161, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Thank you, Councilmember Hurt. All right, so that concludes the resolutions. We are now on bills on introduction and first reading. If there's no objection, we'll consider all ordinances on first reading in one vote at this time. Can I just say that into the record? All right, so Councilmember Mendez needs to be listed as abstaining on BL 2020-143. All right, with that noted, we can take a motion to adopt all measures on introduction and first reading. Take a motion, properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. So the motion to approve all ordinances on first reading passes. All right, we're now on page 15. These are bills on second reading. BL 2019-75 by Councilmember Rosenberg and Toombs. Ordinance amending Chapter 2.30 of the Metropolitan Code to require 911 Yet telecommunicators to be trained in the delivery of high-quality telecommunicator cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Councilmember Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee reports, please.
Got Health and Hospitals. Councilmember Hart. We're on
Yes.
BL 2019-75.
Yes, Health and Hospitals and Social Services Committee voted 5 in favor and 0 against for Bill 2019-75.
All right, thank you. Public Safety, Councilmember Pulley.
Public Safety recommended indefinite deferral, 4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, I think we've got the committee report in from Budget and Finance, so back to Councilmember Rosenberg. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to defer indefinitely.
All right, so the motion is to defer indefinitely, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion to defer indefinitely passes. Bill 2019-76 by Councilmember Murphy and Henderson, ordinance amending sections 2.62.040 and 12.56.060 of the Metropolitan Code to require parking and emergency access plans for parades and special events located outside of the downtown area. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Public Safety, Councilmember Pulley, right next to you.
Public Safety recommended indefinite deferral, 4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Henderson, Public Works.
Public Works also recommended indefinite deferral, 11 in favor, 0 against.
All right, Councilmember Murphy, let me guess what you're going to do. All right, you're recognized.
Well, I'm going to continue working with the administration on this to make sure we've got the language right, so we do not over-legislate or under-legislate. And so with that, I'm going to indefinitely defer and look forward to bringing this back in the spring. Thank you.
All right, so there's a motion to defer indefinitely, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Deferred indefinitely. BL 2019-76. BL 2019-85 by Council Members Lee, Murphy, and Henderson. An ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manhole, and easements for property located at 4119 Murfreesboro Pike. Councilmember Lee, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. I would like to move or approve. I'd like to move this, please.
All right, so I got to get a committee report from Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We voted 13 in favor of moving it forward.
All right, thank you. Public Works has already reported in and approved. Back to you, Councilmember Lee. Now you're ready.
I would like to move for approval, please.
Got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt.
Thank you, sir.
BL 2019-109 by Council Members O'Connell, Henderson, and Allen. Ordinance amending chapters 12.62 and of Title 12 of the Metropolitan Code and substitute ordinance number BL 2019-1658 regarding shared urban mobility devices. Councilmember O'Connell, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to get committee reports, please.
Okay, Public Works, Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Public Works Committee recommended a deferral of 1 meeting, 11 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Traffic and Parking is yours, Councilmember O'Connell.
Yes, thank you. We voted 5 in favor, 0 against for a 1 meeting deferral.
All right, Councilmember O'Connell, what do you want to do?
I would like to move to defer for 1 meeting.
Okay, got a motion to defer 1 meeting, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion to defer 1 meeting is adopted. BL 2019-110 by Councilmember Murphy. Ordinance amending section 13.08.015 of the Metropolitan Code pertaining to the report from a Metropolitan Historical Commission for proposed changes to street names. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report is that 13 in favor, 0 against, and with that, I'd like to move for approval.
Okay, I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing Councilmember Virtue, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. If the sponsor can speak to what the current process is and what this does to that.
Councilmember Murphy.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So as in our analysis, it was explained that currently we get a historical report on these street renamings prior to 3rd reading. And so the fact is that the street renamings come through the Planning Committee on 2nd reading. And so it's hard for the Planning, Historical, and Zoning Committee to consider the historical context of a street if we are not getting the report until the 3rd reading. And so it makes sense that we get that report prior to the 2nd reading so the committee can actually examine the facts surrounding the renaming. And so that is why we have put this forward, and the committee has overwhelmingly supported it.
All right, Councilmember Vercher.
Do we have any data that there's been any issues with the renaming of streets as it's currently written in the charter?
Councilmember Murphy.
So this is, it was done by ordinance, as our attorney Cooper can further explain. But so typically, this is because we are passing approval through committee, and then we are later finding out the historical context. And so it is in the committee's best interest to know the historical context prior to approving a street renaming. Because we wouldn't want to rename a street without knowing the historical context, finding out something later, and then it already being on third reading.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Vercher, anything else?
That's it, Vice Mayor. We just want to make sure, as we are having discussions as it relates to inclusion in the city and this body, we've named a few streets from after some African-American pastors here in the city. We just want to make sure that we're not inadvertently creating a barrier for additional namings of streets. That's all. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
All right, thank you. So, Councilmember Murphy, we're back on your bill, BL 2019-110.
Thank you. And so I think that what this bill continues to do is, in fact, add more transparency to the process. And so with that, I ask for approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The motion is to approve. It's been properly seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. We're on BL 2019-112. We're on page 16 of the calendar. Councilmember Sledge, Murphy, and others. Ordinance to amend the Geographic Information System Street and Alley Centerline layer for the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing the name of Gray Street to 3rd Avenue South. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. It's great timing on this bill. Can I get committee reports, please?
So I got Planning and Zoning, Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We approved 13 in favor, 0 against. While not deciding to defer this for the historical report, we are trusting Councilman Sledge on this one.
All right. Public Works, Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Public Works Committee recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
All right. Councilmember O'Connell, Traffic and Parking.
Thank you, Mr. President. We voted 5 in favor, 0 against to approve. I guess we didn't vote on this, but I'm interested in if we can get that report anyway from Councilmember Sledge on the floor.
Councilmember Sledge?
Sure you can. So Gray Street, according to the Historical Commission report that we had, was named for Harry Bascom, or H.B. Gray, and the son of William Francis W.F. Gray of Madison, manufacturer of Gray's ointment. Quote, a remedy of wide reputation, prepared first by his father, a prominent physician of Raleigh, North Carolina. They appeared to have operated at the corner of Broad and Summer, which was later 5th Avenue, and I will let everyone else read the rest of the Historical Commission's report. This actual street is really just a stub, and the reason for the renaming to 3rd Avenue South is because most of the building that the address pertains to is on 3rd Avenue South. For those who are worried about Gray Street, if you go just a few blocks over, Gray Street also connects between Hagen Street and Martin Street. So you will still have a Gray Street in the area. With that, I would move approval.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. I'd like to see Councilmember O'Connell with a picture on Gray Street, if that's okay. We can get that back. All right. So the motion is to approve BL 2019-112. Properly moved, properly seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt BL 2019-112 on second reading. BL 2019-113 by Councilmember Rosenberg. Ordinance readopting the Code of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, prepared by the Municipal Code Corporation, including supplemental and replacement pages thereof, containing certain ordinances of a general and permanent nature enacted on or before August 21st, 2019. Councilmember Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rules voted 8 in favor, none against, and I move approval.
All right, so I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? We're on 2019-113. All in favor say aye. That wasn't very good. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt BL 2019-113 on second reading. Bills on third reading, BL 2019-30 as amended by Councilmember Murphy. Ordinance amending Metropolitan Code Chapter 16.04 to restrict barbed wire and or razor wire fencing along arterials and collector roadways within the urban zoning overlay district and to cross-reference the existing restrictions on barbed wire and or razor wire fencing along sidewalks in the urban services district. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I request approval.
All right, so the motion is to approve on third reading, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-31 as amended by Councilmember Murphy, Stiles, and Henderson. Ordinance amending Metropolitan Code Chapter 16.04 to require a fence permit for all permanent fences to be constructed within Nashville and Davidson County. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We are unfortunately still waiting on information from Stormwater and FEMA, although FEMA, we'll just see how that happens. But I do expect some information from Stormwater in the near future. But with that and the positioning that we're in, let's go ahead and indefinitely defer this, and I will be continuing the discussion with Stormwater to get the information to us as soon as possible.
All right, so the motion is to defer indefinitely. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to let Mr. Cooper explain what's happening. This is a motion to defer indefinitely.
So the indefinite deferral will operate as a withdrawal by rule since it was deferred and then put back on, but the same bill can be refiled at any time.
Okay, so the motion is to defer indefinitely. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to defer indefinitely say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Motion, the bill is deferred indefinitely. BL 2019-68 by Councilmember Parker. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from RS5 to SP zoning for properties located at 1705, 1707, 1709 Luton Street, and 1706, 1802, and 1804 Meridian Street, approximately 200 feet north of Edith Avenue, 2.03 acres, to permit 64 multifamily residential units. Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Do we need committee reports on this?
You have one sitting there. Councilmember Murphy, Planning and Zoning.
We voted 13 in favor, 0 against.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
Thank you. This, as some of you might recall, a couple of meetings ago, this is the project in Highland Heights that had, we had a few neighbors come out in opposition, and I did ask the developer to attend another community meeting, which we held on Sunday. That was well attended. We had about 25 people there. We did not reach consensus. I mean, there remains opposition, I think, just around the density of the project. However, I do believe it has merits. It adheres to the Highland Heights supplemental policy. The SP restricts short-term rental uses for the units, and the developer is constructing a new roadway at a new public roadway at their own cost. So with that, I would move for approval.
Okay, so the motion is to approve. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? We're on BL 2019-68. Seeing nobody in the queue, we're voting. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Thank you, Councilmember Parker. BL 2019-86. This is by Council Members Roberts, Murphy, and Henderson. Ordinance to authorize the Metropolitan Government of Nashville, Davidson County to abandon an existing easement right for property located at 4901 Centennial Boulevard between 49th Avenue North and Louisiana Avenue. Councilmember Murphy, I'm going to come to you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I'd like to move for approval.
Okay, the motion is to approve. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-87 by Council Members Toombs, Murphy, and Henderson. An ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to abandon existing public water main and easements and to accept new water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assembly, sanitary sewer manhole, and easements for property located at 2420 Stiver Street. Councilmember Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, move for approval.
Okay, I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Bill 2019-95 by Councilmember Sledge, Hurt, and others. Ordinance to amend Title 16 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to require diaper changing facilities in certain public restrooms. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move approval.
Got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Congratulations on the diaper changing. Bill 2019-96 by Councilmember Murphy. Ordinance adopting the Geographic Information System Street and Alley Centerline layer with the recordation of renaming, additions, and deletions of acceptances and abandonments as reflected on the centerline layer to date as the official street and alley acceptance and maintenance record for the Metropolitan Government. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you. With all committee reports in, I'd like to move for approval.
So the motion is to approve. It's properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-97 by Council Members Van Rees, Mendes, and Murphy. An ordinance approving and authorizing the Director of Public Property Administration or his designee to accept a donation of real property, including an existing water pumping station and the surrounding pump house building located at Oakwood Avenue, unnumbered, for Metro Water Services. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
That was a mouthful.
I know.
Committee reports are all in, and I move final approval.
All right, so the motion is to approve. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-98 by Council Members Withers and Murphy. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing water main and easements and to accept new water mains, fire hydrant assemblies, and easements for property located at 750 South 5th Street. Council Member Withers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I believe that all committee reports are in on that. I'd like to move approval with a really brief comment, though.
All right, so the motion is to approve, properly seconded. Back to you, Councilmember Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This address is 750 South 5th Street. There are a number of things there. One of the things that is on that site, among those numerous buildings on site, is the new Davidson County Sheriff's Office headquarters building. Pardon me. During the term before the last term, just as history for everyone, the Metro Council under Mayor Dean had pulled that building off of the capital improvements budget or something of that sort and passed an ordinance that required that the Metro Council approve the location of the Davidson County Sheriff's Office headquarters building through a resolution. Then during the last term, under Mayor Berry's administration, the administration worked with me as well as the sheriff and identified that the sheriff's office already had a building on that particular site next to Public Works. Was the Jerry Newsom Training Center. Originally had been a workhouse that was built in the 30s and had approached me in the community in District 6 to see if we'd be amenable to constructing that building there. I met with Sheriff Hall, emphasized to him the importance to me of the Envision Casey developments that are going on nearby, and wanted to see how good of a partner he could be and providing some training and jobs opportunities to Casey residents in particular. And he's been an enthusiastic supporter of that while they are working on getting that building built. So I know we do have some additional funding that is needed for that building. It is was allocated for about $20 million. Construction is underway. Crews were actually building that building on New Year's Day. So at some point in the near future, we will need to allocate some additional funding to finish the completion of that building. But just for the new members in the body in particular, I wanted to give that history of that is a little bit more complex than just a number on a street. But with all of that, I think that the utility easements question is pretty benign, so I would renew my motion to approve.
All right, so the motion is to approve. It has been properly seconded. Any other discussion? We're on BL 2019-98. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-99 by Councilmember O'Connell and Murphy. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon the existing public water main and to accept new public water main for properties located at 200 and 308 12th Avenue North. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Mr. President, I'd like to move approval.
Okay, motion is to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2019-100 by Councilmembers Stiles and Murphy. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to abandon existing public water main, one fire hydrant assembly and easements, and to accept a new fire hydrant assembly and easements for property located at 5510 Crossings Circle. Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized.
Okay, you're going to have to help me out because I'm fine with this. So, what I say? Thank you.
You're good?
With all committee reports,
All
and I
committee reports are in?
move for approval.
All you did was just move for approval. So I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. That was exactly how you did it. BL 2019-101 by Councilmember Pulley and Murphy. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville to negotiate and accept permanent and temporary easements for the Battlefield Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for 43 properties located along Battlefield Drive. Councilmember Pulley, you're recognized.
All committee reports in. I move approval.
All right, so the motion is to approve, properly seconded. Nobody else in the queue. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. That completes our calendar. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. And got a motion to adjourn, properly seconded. We stand adjourned.
And so the council has concluded a little over a 2-hour business meeting. We actually started a little late tonight. The announcement session the council has beforehand ran a little long. We didn't start till about 6:45. So a little past 8:45, we are done for the first meeting of calendar year 2020. A lot of debate tonight on a couple of elements that were involved with the state-approved plan for Metro to get out of its budget hole, some $40 million in the current operating budget. One element of that, which was going to raise about $500,000 in additional funds, was to give $500,000 to the Sheriff's Department to house federal marshal prisoners. There is some concern raised by some council members about whether that will also mean keeping some ICE inmates. For that reason, there was a recommendation out of the Budget and Finance Committee in general to defer. That's by rule. Then the council has to defer. It's not clear whether they're not going to go ahead with it, but at this point I think they want some additional questions and answers from the Sheriff's Department about that, and we'll see what happens when it comes back up in 2 weeks. The council also had a more extended debate on the floor tonight about what to do about increasing the in lieu of tax payments that the Water Sewer Department gives from $4 million right now to $14 million. This would be also part of balancing the budget. Some council members are not happy the fact they didn't feel like they knew that when water sewer rates were raised recently. Administration says this was discussed. It was an open matter. By the way, already the Water Sewer Department provides $4 million. That's being used over the years to pay off the bonds for the football stadium across now Nissan Stadium. It was done from the very beginning of that project. It was paid for, at least in part, out of water sewer funds. The council went ahead and approved going ahead with the increase in the in lieu of tax for water and sewer by a 34-2 to 4 vote on the resolution. There was some effort by some council members to at least talk about the idea of increasing the in lieu of tax another $5 million to perhaps preclude the need to cut out affordable housing cuts from the Barnes Fund, which they're very unhappy about as well. But it was told if they did that, they'd have to raise water sewer rates further, so that wasn't even mentioned as an actual offer on the floor, an amendment to do that. There was an effort to actually defer the bill for 2 weeks to get further explanations about this. That failed on a voice vote pretty overwhelmingly, and then when they went on from there for the rest of it. The council, by the way, did pass a separate resolution tonight strongly urging the administration to find additional money to bring the $5 million back from the Barnes Fund and provide those affordable housing grants to local nonprofits groups within this particular budget year. On third reading tonight, the council did approve the diaper change bill, where any new public restrooms are going to have diaper changes put within the restrooms themselves. If there are extensive changes made in those restrooms, they have to be done. Extensive enough changes, they need a building permit. That's going to have to be followed on. Otherwise, it does not have any impact on having to retrofit current existing public restrooms. Council also tonight dealt with a resolution to look at extending the list of a master list of architects and engineers, which the city has had for many years. Some concern by council members about the transparency about that, whether particularly minority groups were aware that that existed. So the council, asking for some more information, deferred that for another meeting to see what else could be come up with about that. Council also tonight passed a resolution honoring the life of the late civil rights icon Carrie Gentry, who passed away just a couple of weeks ago or within the last week or so. She is a longtime civil rights activist in town, also the mother of Howard Gentry, a former vice mayor and member of this body, and also currently now the criminal court clerk. They also had a moment of silence and a eulogy read in part by Vice Mayor Jim Shulman tonight about the passing of Don Jones, the former Metro Council legal director and Metro Council legal director for the entire city. The council also took up some information tonight about what to do about filling 3 vacancies on the Community Oversight Board. That's one extra vacancy than what they thought before. They're taking applications for that. The 2 seats that are being filled before, one was from Emmett Turner's, former police chief. He is deciding not to seek a second term. Another member of that group, Ashley Davis, who's presently on the is at least reapplying to be confirmed. The council has 11 total people in this, and they'll have some more for this 3rd seat, which has just now become available. So we'll see what they happen with that. The council will take a final vote on all of these after they had a chance to interview those. If all 11 of the people that have already been nominated and others are willing to fill out a form and are willing to commit themselves to serve, they'll vote on that on February 4th. The council will have another meeting before then. That'll be on January 21st. We'll be here at that time to provide live coverage. Until then, good night from the council chambers.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.